And just back to that interview, Sam Dastyari was tweeting throughout the interview, and he says that Richard Torbay is lying to protect his career, and that Torbay's attempt to join the Labor Party was a bad idea from the start, and that's why we rejected it. You couldn't have two more diametrically opposed positions, could you?
No, you couldn't. And he was saying earlier, I noticed that Sam Dastyari was tweeting that this was a tawdry deal for him to become New South Wales Labor Premier.
So they go to New South Wales right with a tawdry deal.
It also happens to be the opposite of what the Telegraph reported at the time. Yeah. The same newspaper.
Yeah. Well, both stories can't be right. Brian, how did you feel when you heard that there was a dirt file inside the Prime Minister's office?
Well, I don't know that there was. I haven't seen anything publicly explains what there was, as they were looking up maiden speeches, all things on the public record, pecuniary interest things and so forth and so on. I mean...
Except there was this suggestion, go and see what they were doing in their younger days.
It doesn't mean they were supposed to be digging up dirt, but also it's how you define it. Yeah. Journalists shouldn't get on their high horses about digging up dirt. It's part of their job to expose things that have been swept under a carpet. Take the Health Services Union. Are people seriously suggesting that it was wrong to dig around in there to find out about their finances? Now, if you call it finding out the truth, it's a different matter than finding out dirt. I mean, I think one of the politicians, they made a good point. It's one thing to just go through and keep a file on what people have said on the record and what they did, but they might have been in a different party when they were younger or whatever. A different thing altogether to dig around on people's personal lives.
But nevertheless, I think the public responds badly to this kind of sense that they're digging around for personal stuff. And do you think there's any evidence of that? And right now, you would think that the Labor Party's in a position where they might want to spook some of the members from the other side to get them to back off a bit.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think that they're perhaps spooked by the word dirt unit. But there's a classic case. I mean, there's a recent case of where it's the collection of information about people and what they said before being used in the party political sense and also in the parliamentary sense. And it was when Tony Abbott recently told his party room, and it was reported by AAP and Wires and so on, that the Prime Minister wouldn't lie down and die. Now, very shortly after it was reported that he'd said that, people from Tony Abbott's office were very quick to distribute an interview with Julia Gillard. I think it was in the Weekend Australian or something, where she was saying that she would willingly kill 100 blokes to become Prime Minister, or something along those lines. Right. Now, you know, that was interesting in itself that they leaked that, or they distributed this information, because it showed you that they were sensitive about the fact that he was using robust language again. But is that dirt? It's not.
No,
this is about hypocrisy.
I think that's context.
Yeah, and of course what we have these days with the internet and with everything being out and transcript and everything else is that it becomes quite a major job keeping all of this stuff, but it also means that a lot of it's very readily accessible, and consistency is what's often being, or lack of consistency is what's often being exposed by these things, where they can say, well, you say this now, but you said this then.
I mean, unfortunately, that's a negative when there's nothing wrong with changing your mind if circumstances change, but in politics it certainly seems to be a negative.
What worried me about that story, though, was that effectively the Prime Minister's office was actually teaching its staffers how to use Google.
Well, I think the other thing, which I think goes to your original question, you know, were you worried about there being a dirt unit, was at this late stage in the game, it's pretty amazing to think that they're just starting to sort of give basic instruction to people now. I mean, obviously, we're not that far away from an election. They've been in government for a while. Things have been pretty tense for a while.
There's nothing in the original report of the person who broke the story that legitimises the use of the word dirt unit, and they didn't use the word dirt unit. That was used by others.
No, but there was the suggestion of going back and finding out what people wrote in student newspapers and these kinds of things.
But that's all right too. That's not dirt.
All right. Well, maybe
context.
if